Straw Hats thought they were chill inside the lab. With Vegapunk's barrier up, nobody could get in or out. But in this episode, Admiral Kizaru pulled out his Uno reverse card and forced his way onto the island. So get ready, because the end of this episode will make even your bald uncle's scalp tingle. The episode starts with Egghead Island covered in darkness, but soon the sun rises, lighting the place up like Times Square on New Year's. Even little Laboon was out for a casual morning swim. In some random city, people were sprinting like it was Black Friday just to grab the newspapers falling from the sky. And the headlines? Bro, they broke the internet. First, they said Grandpa Garp vanished in Hachinosu. Then they dropped the bomb that Emperor Straw Hat Luffy took a bunch of hostages at Egghead. Back at Makino's bar in East Blue, the crowd was in denial. Nobody was buying either of those stories. While everyone was panicking, the mayor told them to chill. Garp's a living legend, and legends don't die easy. But our clown brain buddy was losing it so bad, he started cursing out Makino's baby. The baby laughed anyway when he looked at Luffy's face on the paper. The mountain bandits were stressing hard because no one ever comes back from Pirate Island. Even Dadan told them to shut up, while she tried to figure out what Luffy and Garp were up to. And yeah, she was bawling like a telenovela villain. Suddenly, birds started fleeing and the ground shook like Big Mom tripped in stilettos. It was so insane that after the quake, a tsunami rolled in like it wanted a rematch. This was labeled the biggest earthquake in recorded history. Poor Laboon almost drowned again. People screamed to run for the hills, but it was already too late. And guess who were the only folks not worried about any of it? That's right, the Celestial Dragon, chilling in their sky castles without a care in the world. This megaquake happened 6 days after the kingdom of Lulusia got Thanos snapped off the map. Navy reports said Lulusia was now just a big old hole in the sea. And you already know who's behind all this chaos. Yeah, that guy. Thanks to Imusama's Earthquake DLC, sea levels rose by a whole meter worldwide. On the land of three-legged ladies, the beaches disappeared overnight. Some islands sank, and sharks were casually swimming into people's living room. The fishermen, they were just happy it might be a good day to catch dinner. Priorities, man. Meanwhile, back at Egghead, a fleet of 100 Navy warships had rolled up, packed with over 30,000 troops. They were led by 9 vice admirals, with faces like they'd just bitten into a lemon, except for Doll, because she's fine as hell. And of course, the troublemaker Kizaru showed up to crash the party. Invading Egghead wasn't going to be easy, because the Sea Beast Mekas were putting in work on those clowns. That is, until Kizaru showed up and blasted a hole straight through a poor robo-giraffe's chest. Fluffy King Sentomaru yelled not to attack the Navy's own Sea Beast, but Mr. Slowpoke Brain said it wasn't his fault. They attacked first. After a solid 10 seconds of work, he went full gamer mode and slurped up a cup of chicken-flavored ramen. The island was crawling with Mark III pacifistas under Sentomaru's command. Kizaru told him to quit playing and just rejoin the Navy already, but Sentomaru said there's no mercy if they try to set foot on this island. He said Uncle Punk developed the pacifista laser tech by studying Kizaru's powers and never imagined that shiny old man would come to erase him. But Kizaru replied that digging into the Void Century is a crime. Not even he can look past that. He said he's just a puppet for the Navy and didn't want to kill his best friend. And guess whose fault it all is? The Straw Hats, of course, for stopping Rob Lucci from giving Vegapunk a buzz cut. But of course, what hit the front page was the complete opposite of what really happened. They said the Straw Hats took Dr. Vegapunk hostage and barricaded themselves inside. And that clown Saturn was loving the fake news Morgans cooked up. One of the world government's bootlickers reported that the CP0 agents and the rest of their squad got clapped by Sentomaru. And with that unbreakable barrier, nobody could go in or out of the lab. Saturn asked where the tech staff and workers of Egghead were. A Marine replied they had already evacuated, and their ships were spotted. So Saturn, being the wholesome grandpa he is, said they might know too much and ordered all their ships sunk. The soldier also mentioned Bonnie was with the Straw Hats, but Saturn couldn't care less. He said she's just a little girl and not needed anymore, so spare her. Oh, so Bonnie gets the baby girl pass, but thousands of innocent Egghead researchers gotta go Titanic? This old man's a straight-up villain. Right after that, Kizaru's men intercepted a transmission coming from inside Egghead. The Admiral whipped out his fancy Rolex Dendenmushi and tapped in. Turns out it was York calling Mary Joise, asking why the Gorosei were trying to off her too, since she was the one who snitched on Stella in the first place. But the bearded boomers weren't buying it and said she's still a Vegapunk, so she had to go. York clapped back, saying if she cared about the Void Century, she wouldn't have handed them that juicy info. The old dudes started grilling her, and she laughed like a Bond villain, saying Egghead belonged to her now. She even threatened bragging that the Seraphim would stomp anyone who tried to get cute, asked if they really wanted to start a war with her. Bold move, York. That's when Jupiter said they changed their mind, and asked if she could recreate the Mother Flame, aka that cute little firecracker that vaporized the kingdom of Lulusia. York started cackling, saying she knew they'd need her eventually. She told them the only power plant that can make the Mother Flame is on Egghead, so if they even scratch her or the lab, they lose the deadliest weapon on the planet. The Gorosei agreed to protect York, and even offered to make her a celestial dragon. After all that, she started crying and begged them to get her out of there ASAP, screaming that Luffy was going to end her. Did she really think she'd get away with everything she pulled? Adorable. Meanwhile, Luffy was casually munching a steak while Zoro asked what they should do with York now that she's useless, and York was screeching for someone to come wipe out those damn straw hats already. Even Nami had the Glock out, ready to pop a cap in that tin can trader's CPU. Luffy said they could just use her as a human shield to escape, and the squad was chilling so hard that Giga Sim Sanji was out there flipping pancakes for Bonnie. Robin was looking rough, but our Doc Chopper was patching her up. She'll be fine, and it was thanks to her that Vegapunk was still in one piece. The crew still couldn't believe that Soda Can York fooled every other Vegapunk on her own. Usopp said there's no way they're escaping this island, but our boy Luffy just flashed a smile like it's just another Tuesday. He grabbed the Denden Mushi and ran straight at York, saying they're using her to force their way out of here. Luffy snatched the Denden Mushi and yelled, "My name's Monkey D. Luffy, and I'm gonna be king of the pirate." He said they teamed up with Dr. Vegapunk, and if they wanted York's head to stay attached, they better pull their troops back. Meanwhile, York was bawling her eyes out, begging for someone to save her like she was in a telenovela. And the Marines were already whispering that Straw Hat Luffy might actually be as wild as the rumors say. Vivi was shocked out of her mind since she'd been defending the guy non-stop. The Gorosei started asking which agents were still alive in the lab, and just as Luffy was about to answer, Robin clapped a hand over his mouth and hung up the Denden Mushi, yelling for him to stop being a dummy. She told him not to just hand intel to the enemy like it's free sample, but in Luffy's head, that call was gonna scare the Navy into leaving. Usopp told him to stop underestimating the Marines like they're mall cops. Saturn said they only needed to protect 3 things: York, the Punk Records, aka Vegapunk's big brain, and the power plant for the Mother Flame. Anything else? Trash tier. Doesn't matter. A Marine said Rob Lucci's squad was still on site, but Saturn was already going full anime villain, mumbling that humans are like cockroaches. Even if you squash a bunch, they keep popping back up. York reminded everyone she made a deal with the Gorosei, so if they laid a finger on her, the whole island would get nuked just like Ohara. That triggered Nami, who Thor hammered York right in the dome for talking that nonsense in front of Robin. York tried to act tough, saying she'd tell the Gorosei, but Nami didn't give a single damn. Zoro told her to chill since York was unarmed, but they forgot the most dangerous weapon she had: her mouth. Robin said she was feeling way better thanks to Chopper, and the little guy looked like he was about to launch fireworks out his ears from the praise. Vegapunk thanked Robin too, since she literally saved his life from getting blown to bits by York's cannon. Chopper said Usopp helped out by holding off the Seraphim. Usopp tried to act cool, but admitted he was just looking for Zoro when he bumped into those demon kids, and still got wrecked, only to be saved by Zoro himself. Kaku told him to zip it, but the man's spine cracked like a glow stick. Rob Lucci told him to just go take a nap already. Lilith was crying louder than a baby at 3 a.m., saying Shaka, Pythagoras, and Edison were all toast. But Metalhead told her to get it together, because he was still alive and kicking. Usopp told her to shut it so he could hear what's going on in the basement. The CP0 agents were shouting thanks for the food the Straw Hats gave them. Others told them to stop screaming thank yous to the enemy out loud. Now they wanted out. Anywhere but here, because the Seraphim had them shaking in their boots. Usopp asked if they'd be okay, and Vegapunk said of course they would. He trapped the Seraphim in bubbles made from the same material as the Mark III pacifistas, strong enough to eat explosions for breakfast, and they were coated in sea stone too. Minnie Mihawk was fuming that they dared trap him in bubble wrap. Essie Snake told them to quit whining since she hadn't been ordered to vaporize anyone yet. Frankie thanked her for unpetrifying him, and Vegapunk found that weird because he never programmed her to do that. But she just got all blushy, saying it was Luffy who grabbed her and asked her to undo it for his crewmates. Jinbei cracked up, saying she was just like the real Hancock. Then Nami said the weapon Lilith gave them was clutch. She even saved Sanji by trapping S-Shark in a giant bubble. Luffy went to thank S-Snake, and she nearly had a heart attack thinking he said, "I love you." Atlas tried opening the barrier again, and yep, failed miserably. They were still stuck on that island unless someone could shut down that unbreakable wall. York started laughing in their faces, saying it was useless. She locked it with a passcode and didn't share it with the other brains. Lilith was about to go full volcano mode and knock that traitor into next week, but York just kept bragging that the world government and that code were her insurance policy. Luffy couldn't believe all that speechifying was for nothing. Usopp was like, "Told ya." Obviously, the world government was never gonna let them escape that easily. It's not called One Piece for a reason. Meanwhile, Lucci was quietly lurking in the shadow, analyzing the whole situation. 2 Vegapunk satellites down, and the Straw Hats still in one piece. Usopp asked what he was mumbling about, but Lucci claimed he was just talking to himself. Classic spy move. Then the queen herself, Stussy, showed up to say they were completely surrounded. 100 warships, 30,000 marines, and one shiny Admiral Kizaru ready to fry some pirates. Sanji ran over like a loyal golden retriever offering tea to Stussy, but the kind of tea he wanted wasn't served in a cup. Stussy told Lucci not to be mad. It was just one little bite. Honestly, I'd let her bite me too. Vegapunk asked Nami to show their escape route, so she used the log pose they set back in Wano. When the old man said it was pointing to Elbaf, Luffy and Usopp lost their damn mind. They were already packing bags in their heads, screaming, "We're going to the land of giants!" Even Edison's rusty brain couldn't process why they were so hyped. The old Vegapunk said the Sunny was parked at the Leba phase, but with the island surrounded, sailing through the port was a no-go. So plan B, use the Vega Force right next to the Sunny to dip out. The dream was to fly over the Navy ships, but the bot could only fly inside Egghead. Outside, it'd drop like a rock. Frankie said, "No worries, because the Sunny could launch itself a full kilometer." Even Einstein's ghost would have fainted after hearing that. When he heard the Sunny runs on cola, the old man's eyes sparkled like he just discovered liquid gold. So yep, that was the plan. But first, someone had to disable the island's barrier. And York, still giggling like a Disney villain, refusing to spill the code. But never underestimate a Vegapunk, my dude. The crew put their heads together and started hacking the system like a bunch of cyber pirates. Frankie wasn't gonna miss out. He told Lilith he was coming along to show her his upgraded bazooka. Luffy and Bonnie were ready too. Can't let anything stop them from hitting Elbaf. They jumped straight off the lab like maniacs with no parachute, trusting the cloud ground to break their fall. Peak Straw Hat behavior. They rushed off to move the Sunny to the island's backside, since that barrier could go down any second. Timing was everything. Lilith was beyond excited. It'd be her first time leaving Egghead. Luffy was already regretting not grabbing more food. And Bonnie? She was hangrier than ever, saying they should have packed more pizza. But Luffy said cheese was more than enough. Sanji could turn that into a 5-star pizza with his eyes closed. Bonnie was already calling him perfect, good with his fists and even better in the kitchen. Too bad she's a bit too young for the curly-browed sim. But let's be real, Sanji didn't care. Catch him on the next episode of To Catch a Cook. Rubber Boy asked why she was suddenly in such a good mood, and Bonnie said it felt like a weight had been lifted now that she's not trying to take down Vegapunk anymore. Luffy was like, "Good, now you'll stop crying like a baby every 5 minutes." Meanwhile, over on the marine ships, Rob Lucci casually dropped a call from inside Egghead like it was a group chat update. The commander told him to share the info with the rest of the fleet. Still can't figure out how nobody noticed Lucci texting from 2 feet away. Over in the VIP Villain Lounge, Grandpa Saturn was sipping his tea when Borsalino popped in. Saturn asked if he heard the news, and Kizaru said that Luffy tried bluffing his way into making it look like the Straw Hats were in control. Spoiler alert, they're not. Saturn was like, "Can't you phase through the barrier? It's made of light and you literally are light." Kizaru said sure, but the barrier's being guarded by his old buddy Sentomaru. Saturn said to just ignore the guy, but Kizaru wasn't having it. He's not about to throw hands with someone that used to share his ramen packet. Plus, if they touch Sentomaru, the Sea Beasts and 50 Mark III pacifistas would turn the entire Navy fleet into a seafood platter. Saturn then asked if Kizaru at least knew where the energy plant was, and Borsalino said Lucci already sent all the intel they needed. That's one sneaky kitty. Back on deck, every Marine soldier started suiting up like it was the Super Bowl. They called in the Rokushiki squad and prepped to bust out the CP0 agents, who honestly were living better than anyone else on that ship. The cookie-faced guy said their bullets would just tickle the pacifistas, so the sea monsters were the real target. Luffy was bouncing around on the cloud floor like it was a trampoline park, while Frankie kept yelling not to forget the mission. After all that running, they finally made it to the Sunny. Kizaru locked eyes with the Sea Beast, and Sentomaru immediately knew something was up. Cue the flashback. Sentomaru remembered everything Uncle Borsalino taught him as a kid. And just like that, the Admiral fired off a Yata no Kagami beam bouncing through Egghead like it was playing pinball. Sentomaru smiled and said, "Uncle's here," before yelling for the pacifistas to attack. Kizaru zipped in glowing like a Christmas tree, and our sumo champ squared up yelling that his defense was the strongest in the world. The clash lit up the entire island like it was the 4th of July. Everyone was panicking like, what the heck was that? And Luffy, he felt it in his rubbery bone. Someone strong had broken into the island, and that's how the episode ends. Next time, in episode 1125, we'll witness an epic showdown between Sentomaru and Kizaru, a battle of honor, lasers, and betrayal. And don't forget, our favorite grumpy tiger Rob Lucci's probably gonna pounce soon too. The title? The Will of Two Men Collide. Kizaru vs Sentomaru. Bro, One Piece just came back, and it's already cooking with gas. If you want me to break down episode 1125 next, hit that comment section with One Piece 1124, so the YouTube gods bless us with some algorithm love. Smash that like button and subscribe to help us hit 1 million subs before the year ends. Check out the video on the screen too. It's hotter than Sanji's kitchen. I'm out of here. Peace out.